Just imagine this scene for a second. The sky is this bruised, churning mess of charcoal and violet, just filled with this ancient raw fury. And the rain? It's not just falling. It's coming down in these solid, roaring sheets, you know? It's like you can't even tell where the sky ends and the earth begins. And right in the middle of all that chaos, there's this structure. It's colossal, this impossible shape made of gopher wood, just towering over the storm. Inside, there's this soft, warm light that seems to come from the wood itself, and it's casting these long shadows over pairs of animals, all of them just holding their breath in this kind of sacred stillness. But you know what? This isn't just a story about survival. Not even close. Hidden right inside the planks and the pitch of this vessel is a secret, a whole cosmic drama just waiting for us to uncover it. So let's start pulling back the layers.
Our whole journey today really starts with this one fascinating question, a real paradox from the ancient mystical text, the Zoar. It says, Noah needed the ark to connect with it. Now just stop and think about that for a moment. Noah is described as a righteous man, right? Perfect in his generations. So why on earth would someone with that kind of spiritual power need a physical box made of wood and tar to protect him? Couldn't divine power have just, put a shield around him? The Zohar is telling us that the secret here isn't about protection from the water. It's about the absolute necessity of a deep, profound connection. The Ark wasn't just a lifeboat, it was his other half in this massive cosmic equation.
So, to really get to the bottom of this secret, we're going to use a classic framework from Jewish mysticism called Pardes. Now, it has 4 levels of meaning, but we'll use it to quickly peel back the layers, starting with the simple story we all know, the pshat, and looking at the hints in the text, the remez, to get us straight to the deepest secret, the sod, that's really at the heart of this entire story. Okay, and right here we find our first huge key. The Hebrew word for ark is Tevah. But, and this is a game changer, Tevah has another primary meaning, word. All of a sudden, the command, make for yourself an ark, also means make for yourself a word. The ark is no longer just some physical object. It's a vessel for language, a container for the very letters that make up the divine speech of creation itself. The Tevah becomes a sanctuary, holding the potential for an entirely new world.
This whole idea of a sacred container holding some kind of divine essence, it's not actually unique to Noah. This shift in thinking from ark to word connects us to another incredibly powerful symbol in Jewish tradition, and it draws a really illuminating parallel.
So on one side, you've got Noah's Tevah, the ark holding the seeds of all living things. That's the raw potential for a whole new physical world. And on the other side, you have the Aron Habrit, the Ark of the Covenant, which holds the tablets, the words of the Torah, which is like the spiritual DNA for a covenanted people. See the parallel? They're both sacred vessels. They're both built to hold the very essence of a world. And in a way, they're both kind of inert, just waiting for the right connection to unlock their true purpose.
And this right here is where the magic happens. Before Noah goes in, it's just a teva, it's a box, it's potential. But the Zohar explains that Noah himself actually embodies Brit, the covenant. So get this, when the man called covenant enters the vessel called word, the vessel itself is transformed. Boom! It becomes an ark of the covenant. The union of this one righteous person and this sacred vessel creates a totally new, unified reality, one that is powerful enough to carry the whole world through the flood.
And now we've arrived at the deepest level, the sod, the secret. We've seen the ark as a word, and we've seen it as a parallel to another sacred ark. But now, we're going to see Noah and the ark as something way more profound. A cosmic pair, engaged in what's called a zivug, a sacred marriage, that was absolutely necessary to reboot reality itself. Now, to understand this secret, we need a quick look at the cosmic blueprint. In Kabbalah, the Sephirot are the 10 channels, or attributes, that the divine uses to manifest into our world. Honestly, you can just think of them as the divine operating system for all of reality.
Okay, here it is. This is the core secret. Within this divine architecture, Noah and the Ark represent a cosmic pair. Noah embodies the spiritual attribute called Yesod, which means foundation. And you can think of Yesod as the masculine, generative energy, the channel that brings life and blessing down into the world. The Ark, on the other hand, embodies Malchut, which means kingdom. This is the feminine, receptive vessel that gives all that divine energy a home, a structure and a form right here in our physical reality.
So the command, come into the Tevah, wasn't just about finding shelter. It was a divine instruction for a sacred union, a zivug. The world before the flood was in a state of total cosmic disconnect. The flow of life itself was corrupted. The flood was a hard reset.
So, to rebuild, a new seed code for the world needed to be preserved. And only the perfect union of the generative force, that's Noah, and the receptive vessel, that's the Ark, could create that perfectly protected space. This is why Noah couldn't just walk in whenever he wanted. He had to become a pure channel, totally ready for this holy union.
I know. This idea of a sacred union rebooting the entire cosmos can feel pretty abstract. So let's try to translate this ancient mystical idea into a couple of modern analogies, just to really get a handle on the mechanics of this cosmic engineering.
Okay, for all the engineers watching, think of it this way. 1. The pre-flood world was a system just filled with corrupted data. 2. The flood was a complete system format, totally wiping the drive clean. 3. The Ark was a secure, bootable recovery drive, holding the pristine original source code of life. And 4. The command for Noah to enter, that was the system handshake. Only Noah, the authorized user with the covenant password, could activate that recovery drive and kickstart the whole reboot.
Or hey, for a more modern take, picture it like a video game. The world had become this glitched-out, totally unplayable level. The flood was the server-wide reset. The Ark was a specially created safe zone, completely immune to all the chaos outside, but it was just sitting there, inactive. Noah was the player who had leveled up and earns the covenant key, and only by bringing that key into the safe zone could he activate its power, preserve all the essential game assets, and trigger the beginning of a whole new world map.
And this cosmic design is even encoded in the numbers. The pairs of animals, the number 2, that points to the fundamental principle of partnership that keeps creation going. The number 7, which we see with the pure animals, represents a kind of spiritual completion. And the number 10, which is hinted at with Noah's family, suggests the complete set of 10 sephirot, the full divine architecture you'd need to rebuild the world.
Even colors are playing a symbolic role here. In this mystical view, the divine flow of life is associated with white, the color of mercy, of pure potential. The vessel that has to contain this flow is associated with red, the color of structure, of boundaries, of judgment. And the goal isn't for one to overpower the other. The goal is for the white flow to be perfectly received inside the red vessel, creating a totally balanced and harmonious reality.
So, after all this, what's the ultimate result of this cosmic pairing? What's the tangible sign that this union between the generative force and the receptive vessel has actually worked, and that the flow of life has been restored? Well, the answer is one of the most beautiful and universal symbols we know.
The rainbow is the product. Think about it. Pure white light representing that singular flow from Noah enters the vessel of creation, the waters of the world held back by the Ark. And when that pure light is refracted through the prism of our physical world, it suddenly reveals all of its hidden inner potential as this beautiful spectrum of integrated colors. The rainbow isn't just a promise, it's the physical proof of a successful union. It's the covenant made visible, showing that the flow and the vessel are in perfect, beautiful balance.
So, the ultimate takeaway is this. The story of Noah's Ark, when you see it through this mystical lens, is completely transformed. It stops being just a story about a guy who built a boat to survive a flood. It becomes this profound teaching that the very continuity of creation depends on the perfect union of a generative force and a receptive vessel, of a flow and a container. Salvation isn't about hiding from disaster. It's about actively participating in and becoming the very mechanism of renewal through sacred partnership.
And this brings this huge, cosmic principle right down to a personal level, leaving us with a question to really think about. In our own lives, what is the structure, the vessel, the ark that we must carefully build? And what is the core principle, the covenant, that we must bring into that vessel to create our own personal sanctuary and ensure a sustainable flow of life into our world? Thank you for joining us for this complete journey through the Pardes. We hope these ancient truths help you and your family improve your own dimensions this week. If you enjoyed this full chapter deep dive, please like, subscribe, and share which part of the journey touched your soul in the comments. We'll see you in the next chapter.